Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Lurkin here from Mobalytics, and I finally got around to messing with my Hydra build and optimizing it and making it better. I tried a lot of different things. I tried scaling all the Conjuration damage. I even tried, I was using Chain Lightning enchantment to make Crackling to pop out Summon Lightning Spear, and what I ended up deciding on was Combustion and scaling the Hydra burning damage and using Winterglass to freeze enemies and also help my scale my damage by allowing me to make more conjurations. I think on the training dummy, like a regular amulet with shredding blades, and then you were to move conceited over to here, would be stronger. But for the purposes of actually playing it, everyone's making spear or frozen orb, etc. Everyone's got one of these, so this is just the go-to, and it's easier to do, and it does really add a lot of nice crowd control to the build. In addition, it helps freeze enemies, which we can utilize our Storm Swell with, because this is bugged. We're getting the 60% damage that it normally does for what the aspect says. And we're getting another 60% when we use our Ice Armor for the entirety of Ice Armor's duration. And then during that duration, if the enemy also happens to be frozen, it's another 60%. So that's why this is performing a lot better than it should have. A lot of builds with Storm Swell on the staff are being carried by it, and I think that's okay for now. So let's get straight into the enchantments. So it is Iceblade enchantment and Frozen Orb enchantment. I tried it with Firebolt. I don't know. I tried it with a few other enchantments, and this is just sort of what I settled on. We get burning. We can apply burning via Hydra, and Hydra's doing like most of the damage. It's doing most of the groundwork, so you really only need the burning damage on there. And we don't have too many ranks in Dev Blaze, so it's not a big deal that we don't have Firebolt. But Frozen Orbs, you make a lot more Frozen Orbs, help freeze enemies, keeps everybody vulnerable, and Ice Blade enchantments. You get another 3 Ice Blades out to help scale your damage, and they're doing their choppy, reducing all your cooldowns. It's really great. In the gameplay that you're seeing, I do have the Hellborn buff, so the cooldowns are a lot better in there than what they normally are. But that was quite the run. I had a lot of time. I had a lot of fun with that run. So definitely grab that Hellborn Invigorate buff whenever you can. So first off is Shaco, just best in slot. I tried it within Dariel's because it gives so much attack speed and you can cast Hydra more. This is played as a spam cast Hydra build, and that's also why we don't take Serpentine. You don't get a lot of value out of Serpentine when you're spam casting, just because you're not just setting up 3 and letting them do their thing. You are just continuously spam casting and then drilling everything with the Tyrael's bolts that bring all the bolts inward and hit everything. And you can actually get some really good damage out of Tyrael's. I'm pretty sure I saw some 8 million damage ticks, and that's all thanks to Winterglass's Conjuration Mastery passive. And that's the most important thing on this build, is the Conjuration Mastery ranks. The reduced cooldowns on Frozen Orb, it's pretty important-ish, but this isn't a Lightning Spear build. There's no splintering on here. This is just pure Hydra. It's basically a Hydra Tyrael's hybrid. So we have Shaco. If you don't have Shaco, you can just use a concentration helmet. That's where you get 25% DR when you use a Conjuration. You're always doing that, and you can take ranks to Hydra on it with like cooldown reduction and armor, if you can find that. Next is Tyrael's. If you don't have any of these uniques, the build actually is fine without Tyrael's. Like Hydra does do a lot of damage. I'd honestly say you could use Raiment to help bolster the damage, but it's kind of nice for the clumps too. Or you can just use like an Ever Living chest or something like that. Next is we have Shredding Blades on the glove. So Shredding Blades and Storm Swell are the 2 damage aspects. These are our top damage aspects. This is a 30% multiplicative damage to all vulnerable enemies. It applies to all our burning damage. It applies to our Tyrael's bolts damage. And on here, you're going to want int attack speed crit chance. And then you can either take lucky hit chance to freeze, or you can take like Hydra or Lightning Spear lucky hit chance. We're really just using the amulet to make a few Frozen Orbs to freeze enemies and to scale our damage with Conj Mastery. This isn't a Frozen Orb build. This isn't a Spear build. We're not getting 60 Spears out. We're getting like 14 to 16 Conjurations tops, and we're just schmelting stuff with Hydra. It's super fun if you're getting bored in the season. We do take Hydra damage tempers here. I messed around with a lot of vulnerable damage tempers. I messed around with a lot of stuff, and I just settled on Hydra damage. And if you get Conjuration damage, that's fine. And if you do have some vulnerable damage gloves, that's like also totally fine. For our pants, We do have really good uptime on our ice armor. So we do go with Snow Veiled. I did like this over concentration if you just had to pick one. Int, max life. And then the key thing here is warmth or life per second, ideally both. And that's so that you can always be topped off on max life to always be spawning the Tyrael's bolts. And then again, the utility temper, pretty flexible, freeze or, Conjuration lucky hit chance. Next, we have Asus boots. My rolls aren't perfect right now with a lot of my masterworks, but we go to 84% critical strike chance. That's pretty good. And then we get another 12% from the Searing Heat legendary node. Get a fat stack of crit damage out of it too, and we're just always basically moving really fast. Nothing really better to take here. All right, so for your staff, you ideally, if you staffs are pretty cheap. They're not cheap right now if you want a crit damage one, but you can find like an int max life staff for pretty cheap, and especially like an int vulnerable damage one, because nobody wants vulnerable right now. They all want critical strike damage. So these staffs really aren't that hard to find, and you're gonna ideally hit all three masterworks on casted hydras. It starts with 4. You can get it up to I think 12. So I got 10 heads right now. I'm not resetting this thing any further. 2 hits is totally fine. I just reset it until I hit the 2, lived with the results. And then you either want Conjuration damage or Hydra damage. All right, next. We do have Talrash on here. It really did help with the cooldowns. And you're getting 60% damage out of it. And I just like there's no other really good aspect that I would want here. I think the only thing that you could experiment with is if you have a ring built already for Spear or Frozen Orb or something, you could put Frozen Orbit on here. But I just went with Talrasha because it was just simple and it scaled my damage really well. But, a Frozen Orbit ring with attack speed could do pretty well here. Starless Skies, it lowers our Hydra cost down to like 12.5, so we never run out of mana. We get a lot of attack speed, we get some core skills for a Frozen Orb. We're not scaling Frozen Orb that hard. And crit strike chance and lucky hit chance is just really good. And then last but not least, Winterglass. Most important thing here on here is the ranks to Conj mastery. I don't actually even care about the aspect value that much or anything else on it. You just want GA ranks to Conj mastery so you can scale your damage. Let's get into the skill tree. I think I have it correct. So we have 2 in Firebolt just to progress. And then we move on over to, we have ranks to Frozen Orb. And then we have Greater Frozen Orb. That way we can apply Vulnerable. There's 2 points in there. We take the bare minimum teleport just after the damage reduction node here. We'd max out Glass Cannon. We take Shimmering. That way every 4 Hydra casts. Yeah. Every 4 Hydra casts, we reduce our ice armor by 1 second. We max out Hydra, and Invoked Hydra is a bad node. We do not need the crit chance. You want Summoned Hydra. It basically doubles the damage from the base. Because the base can crit and stuff like that, but 100% of the base is now burning damage. So I can stack the burning damage up to 200 million. And if I take off Winterglass and I use an Engulfing Flames amulet, I could go and cheese the training dummy for 300, 400 million, but eh. Alright, and we take Summoned Ice Blades. It makes Ice Blades reduce all our cooldowns. We take Invoked Lightning Spear. Every spear that we cast is going to make 2 of them, and we're stunning and making enemies vulnerable. I have a whopping 13 ranks in Conj Mastery. So 13 times, I think I get about, let's just say 13 times 13. I get 14 Conjurations out sometimes. It's 169% extra damage. So that's 169% conceded aspect that we're getting out of this. Mana Shield and Protection for barriers and for damage reduction. I do take the 3 points in Icy Veil. It actually is really important this season for keeping our... Let's see, 6 seconds. Does it actually go up in the tooltip? No, it doesn't. But this does increase our ice armor duration. This right here acts as an ice armor duration temper. So that's really important for keeping that up. These 2 points are a little bit of a flex. You can do whatever you want with these, but you want Inner Flames, and you do want Devouring Blaze, because that does help with the Tyrael's damage and with Hydra, because Hydra is half direct, half burning. Just take 1 point in Fiery Surge. We're after Soulfire. That way our Hydra does more damage, and then Endless Pyre, so that Hydra does even more damage. And then we round it out with Warmth. These points are a little bit of a flex. You could slam them all in Warmth. You could put them in Precision Magic, or if you wanted more, more teleports, you could do it there. So these 3 points are a bit of a flex. I think I just have 2 in here right now. Doesn't really matter. And last but not least is Combustion. This is going to increase our burning damage by I think just like straight up 64%, because we really only have the Hydra providing a burn. All right, guys. So now we're going to get into the board. I had to make a quick fix with it. All right, so we're gonna start with Unleash. It's just for 8% damage. We don't really need the mana regen. Boosts all of our damage. Elementalist. So one thing I'll start quickly is this build has a lot of damage coming from a lot of different sources. You have Tyrael's damage that's always critting. You have direct damage from Hydra that's critting, and then you have burning damage from Hydra. That's the main thing that we're scaling. So I'm trying to take stuff that scales all the damage, and not just like, say you were to take Torch or Flame Feeder, that's only the direct. So next we take Elementalist, that's 15% more damage. We go down here and we take Tactician on Burning Instinct. That's 10% damage, and it buffs this DR from burning and this damage to burning. We path up here, grab some more additive, and we do grab this juicy Elite DR. We path over here, and we grab the DR Burning, and we manage to get Burning Instinct for 80% more burning damage. I come down here, and I don't see a lot of other, I just take Enchanter on a lot of builds. It's scaling all my burning damage direct and indirect, and it's a pretty fat chunk of additive. It's 130. So I don't know. It just fits in the board well too. I think it's fine. We do grab Frigid Fate here. We get 60% damage to vulnerable enemies with all damage. Next is Searing Heat. We do grab Destruction, and I do opt. We have it maxed out nice. No, not maxed out, but we have it at a nice 39. We path up through here, and the cool thing here is we are able to get Searing Heat. I tried it with and without it, and I think it was fine. It's just a lot of damage that you're boosting Hydra's crits by. Next is Exploit. Now this is just the bare minimum, just in and out onto Ceaseless Conduit for the 10% damage. After we're tearing at vulnerable enemies, we do 10% more damage to them. And then the last board, I don't really care. We'll see if I end up moving it around. I'll probably put this as the last board, and then this will be the 6th board. That way we can hit these wrecks. I think I just kind of scuffed it when I was building it because I moved stuff around. But we grab Conjurer. That boosts our Hydra damage. And what's also really cool about it is it makes all our conjurations last 20% longer. So our spears are out longer, our ice blades are out longer. That way we have more conjuration mastery stacks out. And especially with 13 ranks, that's like the max that you're able to get to. It starts to add up when you get 2, 3, 4 more out. And I probably wouldn't take this in this build if it wasn't like Hydra, because only on Frozen Orb and Spear builds do you typically take this. And then we grab Elemental Summoner. That's 60% more damage with our Hydra. So that's the board. That's the build. I'm pretty happy with it. I went to the T8 at first, and I didn't have Stormswell on the staff, and I was like, oh shit, this thing sucks. I was like, what am I gonna do? And then I realized I didn't have Stormswell, so I was missing so much damage. I put it back on. I just went in and ripped. And then, last but not least, you don't have to use Winterglass. You can put Shredding Blade's amulet. And then ideally you'd want probably an amulet that looks something like this, like Conj Mastery for sure. And then you could have Inner Flames, you could have Glass Cannon, you could have Dead Blaze, Endless Pyre. I think this is just so much easier. And then that 10 ranks to Conj Mastery is just pretty insane. But like a triple passive amulet would outscale it, I believe. But this is just easier because it's, everybody, these are up everywhere on the trade site. Everyone's got one because they're farming Zir. It's just way easier to put this on. It's super nice. And then you would put Conceited on here over Shredding Blades, because you'd have Shredding Blades on here because it's more damage. All right, guys. There's Hydra. Peace.